Hey everybody, it's Ron, and today I'm going to be talking about Jupiter's Legacy. This is a Netflix show that's based on the comic by writer Mark Millar. He's a very prolific writer, and his most notable works include Civil War for Marvel and Kick-Ass and Kingsman. I think those are the most popular things that he's worked on. But a lot of his other Millarworld stuff is really great. You have these things like Chrononauts or MPH, Secret Service, which is also Kingsman, and Jupiter's Legacy, which is one of my favorites of his. So I was a little nervous going into this because I generally don't like when these types of creator-owned stories get turned into TV shows because they usually get watered down. For example, I loved the Walking Dead book because each trade was like this amazing TV show in itself. And it's funny because I used to say that to people before it actually became a series on AMC. And then the show came out and it wasn't anywhere near as good as the book, in my opinion. I thought it was a very boring show. And I also stopped Invincible after the third episode because I'm personally really tired of writers injecting their personal politics into random scenes that take me out of the show, and I was scared that would happen with this as well, but I was really surprised that aside from maybe a couple little things here and there, this was just a normal show concentrating on the story over everything, and I can't tell you how refreshing that was, because I don't think this show was amazing by any means, but in my opinion, it's so much better than anything we've gotten from Netflix or any of the other streaming services. And although it does have some similarities to something like The Boys, it was way less cynical and didn't have an agenda it was trying to push other than telling a sprawling story about different generations of superheroes and family struggles. Again, it's so nice to see a show that focuses on more universal themes that everyone can enjoy. I was also very surprised by how the showrunners decided to tell this story because the origin of the Union was told very quickly in the comic, and the writers decided to spread that out through the whole first season and go back and forth between the flashbacks and the current day storyline. At first I was skeptical about this decision, but I think it worked out overall because you really get to know these characters more and it enhances their scenes as older men and women. I was actually enjoying the slow pace at first with the flashbacks, but I do have to admit that the last couple episodes, when they finally get to the island, became a little too dragged out. And I was like, okay, come on, we need to pick it up, and I know they're all going to get superpowers. It just went on a little too long. They do leave the island a mystery, compared to the comic, where they literally just meet aliens that give them superpowers to help humanity. So we'll see if that eventually happens in the show as well. There were a lot of changes made to the story, and yet it still did a good job keeping the feel of the comics at the same time. The only character that felt a little off to me was Brandon, I think because the look of his character in the comics is so different that it threw me off a little bit. But other than that, I really like the cast of this show, especially this guy Ben Daniels as Brainwave. I really think that guy gave an incredible performance, and I also think he should at least get some sort of nomination for his role. I also really liked Josh Duhamel, is that how he's Duhamel? I don't know. As the Utopian. I honestly didn't know he had the acting chops for something like this because I only know him from like the Transformers movies, but he was really good. Okay, so I'm gonna say a big spoiler for the comic, so just make sure you skip this. I'm gonna say it right now. But in the book, Utopian dies really early on, and that works well for the comic, but I like that he survives this whole first season, and we're given more time to let him develop, and you get a better sense of why certain characters are frustrated with him and eventually end up conspiring against him. The action was solid for the most part. It did feel a little clunky sometimes, especially the first big fight with Blackstar, but it didn't really take me out of it. They really did a good job with Chloe. She kind of did look like a Frank Quietly drawing come to life, and she was more in line with her comic book counterpart than her brother. She's one of the more sympathetic characters, even though she's a mess in the beginning. You could tell that deep down her heart's in the right place, and that's the type of character that most viewers end up rooting for and identifying with the most. so I wouldn't be surprised if she was one of the more popular characters to new fans coming into the show first and not the comic. George was also really well done, but he didn't get too much time as Skyfox in the first season, so I'm looking forward to seeing what he's up to in the current day, and I liked his costume. And I like Brainwave's costume as well. They both really reminded me of Watchmen characters. I have heard people talk about this being a little slow, but I honestly think it worked out really well because you get a chance to let the characters breathe, and a lot of the quiet, dramatic scenes were just as interesting to me as the intense action. It sounds insane to say this, but we'd be better off with more average shows like this that are primarily focused on telling a good story over anything else, because that's rare nowadays, and I think season 2 will be even stronger and possibly get better reviews across the board now that it found its footing with what they set up at the end. This is a show where the more I think about it, the more I like it, and I also think it's a good start for Millar World, or Miller World, whatever you call it, and his Netflix shows and movies that he's going to be developing. I'm excited to see if they can keep up the quality with everything else, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So check this show out, give it a shot. That's it for me today. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this type of content. Thanks for watching. Hey everyone, it's Ron here with a quick announcement. When I started this channel, I was reading and reviewing the Dune books and other sci-fi related material, and most of you might not know that I'm also a musician. So when I was reading these sci-fi books, I started to get inspired and decided to make my own soundtrack to use for my videos, and now I'm excited to tell you all about the first volume in the Ron Reviews original soundtrack collection. This album includes the first 17 tracks featured on my channel, and it's available now exclusively on Bandcamp. Be sure to check the description of this video for the link to the album. Thanks so much for the support so far. I know I'm just starting out, but I hope you're having as much fun as I am. So check out the original soundtrack Volume 1 on Bandcamp. This music is great if you want something moody and atmospheric to listen to while you're reading some science fiction. I think you're going to love it. Thanks.